Welcome to the Sample Chapter Podcast, the show where authors read a sample chapter from one of their books. Here's your host, Jason A. Meiske.
Hello, Sample Chapter listeners. Welcome back to an exciting new episode. This is episode 218 of the Sample Chapter Podcast, and today's guest is a very special debut teen author named A.Y. Johlin. A.Y. Reached out to the show. She was a fan of a couple of previous episodes, I guess, and reached out to the show to want to come on and discuss her debut book, The Girl Who Wasn't Chosen. And I am so happy that she did, because this was a delightful chat, and she was really a joy to talk to. We are discussing this debut novel, the middle school fantasy with a 12-year-old hero. We're talking about inspiring young authors, and we're also talking about how, what it's like to work on something for so long, like years, only to turn around and rewrite the entire novel after having worked on it for so long. Plus character surprises, things that have popped up along the way that surprises us as authors. All this and so much more is coming up. You're going to love this interview. She was so much fun to talk to, and very bright, and the book is just incredible, so perceptive, and her reading is very detailed and immersive. It's got some humorous tidbits here and there, and just overall just a lovely reading that you're going to enjoy. So stay tuned for this. It's coming up here in just a couple of moments. As for me, I have been, writing has been a little intermittent again lately. I've gotten pretty busy. Had as you heard here a while back, had a new grandbaby. So been very busy with that, and then other, just life stuff. But it's good, because I've got the same habit lately where when I do get to sit down and write, I'm getting in some good words. So Bandit 2 is coming along really well. I'm actually I'm looking at an event that I'm planning to go to in September, mid-September. And once I nail that down, I'll let y'all know, just in case you can be there. And of course, another event in another event in October and November is what I'm kind of looking at right now. So what the hope right now is that I can finish Bandit. I don't think I'll finish it this month, but if I can finish it early August and get it out to my beta readers so that I can be doing my edits and such, then I should have it ready for September events. But that's what I'm shooting for right now, and that's exciting. It's the story's coming along, and very happy with it. I know I'm gonna have some severe editing to do at the beginning, because I've had to go back and change some things here and there yet, but it'll be nice just to have the book done. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how hard this draft has been. But you know what it's like. All of you listeners out there, I know there's a lot of you out there who are writers yourselves. Some of you out there who are aspiring writers, and you've reached out to the show. So I want to encourage you to don't give up. Keep writing. Keep going at it each and every day. And just know that whenever you do get that book done and you've got it ready to go out and it's available to read, let me know. I want to get you on the show. Now, how do you do that? Well, of course, you can follow the show on social media. We're on the 3 main platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can just follow us there at Sample Chapter Podcast. You can also reach out to the show if social media is not your thing. You can reach out to the show by email at samplechapterpodcast@gmail.com, or give me a call. Let me know what you think of the show or a recent episode. Whatever is on your mind, leave me a voicemail by calling 660-851-1146. And of course, if it's a good voicemail, I'll make sure to play it on an upcoming episode. As always, I want to thank Scrivener, my longtime sponsor of the show. I do all of my writing in Scrivener. I love it, absolutely adore it, and it has saved my butt more times than I can believe. Especially right now with Bandit 2 and the way I've been changing things and moving chapters around and referring back to characters. You have all that availability and so much more available to you. Check out this advertisement to find out how you can save 20% on the regular desktop version.
Jason here. Hey, I wanted to take a moment and tell you about my favorite writing tool, Scrivener. Now, I know you've heard about Scrivener because their writing software has been embraced by hundreds of thousands of other writers like you and I, from the novice to best-selling novelists. The reason we all use it is because of Scrivener's core concept to bring all the writing tools you use together in a single application. And with tools like automatic backup, character maps, project goals, and let's not forget that amazing corkboard, you can see why I use Scrivener every day. As a bonus for Sample Chapter podcast listeners, use code CHAPTER for 20% off your desktop version. Scrivener writing software, built by writers for writers.
And there you have it. Once again, thank you to Scrivener. I also want to thank an affiliate of the show, Writer's Block Coffee. They are home to 3 spectacular flavors of coffee. The Deadline Dark, sure to keep you up as late as you need to be when you're burning the candle at both ends. The signature Writer's Block Blend. And of course there is the my personal favorite, the Whiskey Barrel Aged Blend. Order one, order them all, grab a sample, or you can also order one time or set it up on monthly auto shipment. Click that link in the show notes to get right over to our personal link, or go to writersblockcoffee.com and use coupon code SAMPLECHAPTER and save 10% on your order. Finally, I want to thank my friends at Pop Goes the Culture Network, home to about a dozen other fantastic shows. Whether you're looking for movie news, television news, anything pop culture related, there is a show for you. So click that link in the show notes, get on over there and check out all the fantastic shows, including their flagship show, Pop Goes the Culture Podcast. All right, well, without further ado, let's hop on over to our interview with Baltimore, Maryland native A.Y. Johlin.
Hello, Sample Chapter listeners. Hey, welcome back. This week, I'm very excited. I've been very fortunate this past year to have some extremely talented young authors, young first-time authors on the show, and today is no exception. Today, we are joined with A.Y. Johlin. A.Y. Johlin is a Christian teen author currently living in Baltimore, Maryland. She published her debut middle grade novel, The Girl Who Wasn't Chosen, her senior year of high school. When not writing, she loves spending time with her little sister, building robots, and of course, reading books. And today she joins me to discuss that first book. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome to the show, A.Y. Johlin.
Hello, it's so nice to be on. I'm really excited to talk with you.
I'm excited to talk to you too. And what an incredible first book. It looks amazing, it sounds amazing, and just what a way to go. You have some glowing reviews, and you've got to be on cloud 9 right now.
Thank you. It's definitely been a weird experience, but it's been kind of interesting, especially like as a teen. It was kind of always one of my dreams to publish a book.
Mm-hmm.
So when I actually published it, I've definitely had like those cloud 9 moments, like you said, where I'm like, whoa, I actually did it. Here are these people who actually read my book and like it. But other than that, I'm mostly like a normal teenager, day-to-day basis. Like it didn't really change my everyday life, I guess.
That's that next step after we get our first book out there, and then about a week or two into it, then all of a sudden it's like, wait a minute, the world didn't change. Where's the literature person that's going to be coming in with my big check, and I'm going to move into my mansion? Why didn't that happen?
Exactly. I published my book basically January of my senior year, so school kept going. I still had all the exams, all the tests. It did not change a minute after I finished.
Yep. Yeah, my first book came out, and I think a couple days later, I've got a house payment to make, and I've got other bills still coming, and of course, with the way Amazon works, like, yeah, you're going to see those payments in a couple months. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh,
I did not realize that when first going in, and I was like, oh my goodness.
So, tell us a little bit about yourself. What was that first dream that came to you? Like, how did you, or what were you first thinking when you decided you wanted to be an author?
So just I guess I should probably start with when I was really young. I was always really into storytelling. So I got into writing because I was kind of a shy, quiet kid. And it was kind of the natural next step of something that was easy and available to do. So when I was in middle school, I wrote my first book. And for then, I always like to challenge myself when doing things. So in middle school, the challenge really was finishing a book.
Mhm.
And once I finished that book and I shelved it because I wasn't really interested in the story anymore, I moved on my freshman year of high school. And at that point, I'd already completed this challenge of finishing a book. So I said, okay, well, I'm writing this other book. I have this other idea. Why don't I try to publish it? And that's sort of where the dream of like being an author began. And then I focused all throughout high school on trying to make the best quality book possible, to make a book that was actually good enough to be published, and then research publishing and actually publish the book. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, that already puts you like far and ahead of so many authors, including myself. I remember in junior high trying to write stories for my friends and I, but same thing, they would get shelved. And I mean, all throughout my early adulthood and whatever, it was the same thing of I'd write a story, put it away, but I had no idea of what it would take to make it better. And it wasn't until, I mean, just a few years ago that I got serious about it and then realized, like looking back at some of these stories, like, oh my gosh, these are terrible. These are just terrible. And joined a local writing group and just started discovering, like, oh, this is how you fix it. This is what you do to tell a story, and the three act structure, hero's journey, all that kind of stuff. And it's an amazing journey, but it's so worth it.
Mhm. I think also for me, a big advantage, which like you probably didn't have when you're younger, is honestly the internet. There were so
Mm,
many free like videos on writing with all those different story structures. So
hmm.
I was able to actually learn it from a very young age. I think if I hadn't been exposed to that and had like I can go on YouTube and basically search up videos with free advice from published authors. That's was so helpful to me when I was a young writer. So I definitely say if I didn't have that, I probably wouldn't have gotten started as young, because those things kind of solidified lessons like, oh, you need to actually stick with a book. Whereas before in middle school, I was jumping from book to book. When I actually saw a video where someone's saying, no, you have to stick with a book and finish it, I actually stuck with the book and finished it. And that really helped me in the long run kind of become a better writer.
Hmm.
So I'd say definitely I was very fortunate to be born at a time where information is so accessible.
Well, and there's something to that. For me, it's funny because the internet would be one way to look at it, and I definitely utilize that now with YouTube and other things. But like 10 years ago, when I first discovered podcasts, that's where I was listening to podcasts and listening to uh, authors discussing the writing process. And it was the first time I could listen to someone talk about the process without being bored, because I
Yeah.
would I would discover people talking about it in new ways, and they're discussing how to tell a story in relation to, hey, here's this new Marvel movie thing that came out and how that correlates to a story. And I found that so fascinating, and I could relate to it, which I think is a step. It's one of those important steps as well, with anything that you do. If you can relate to it, then you can learn and go from there. Because otherwise, yeah, you're in the dark ages like I was growing up of, yeah, I wrote a book and nobody cares.
Yeah, I love my parents, but they definitely like, or my family didn't really understand because I come from a very STEM family where everyone's like doctors and super technology. So when I was like writing a book, they were a little bit confused, didn't really understand it. So I can definitely relate to the write a book and nobody cares.
Oh my goodness. Well, so tell us about The Girl Who Wasn't Chosen. What is the story, and how did you come up with this?
It's kind of funny because I actually got the idea of the story. The protagonist is 12, and I had the idea for sort of the moral of the story and like the meaning behind it when
Mhm.
I was 12, because it was a genuine thing that I struggled with as a 12-year-old. This idea of wanting to be special and wanting to be unique and different, and realizing that I really wasn't that special. I was like a normal 12-year-old kid. I wasn't a artistic prodigy or anything like that. And a lot of the books that I read when I was younger really put emphasis on like the chosen one trope, this
Mm.
idea of a character who has these magical powers or this unique ability, and that's what sort of makes them succeed. So I really wanted to write a book where there is an adventure and the character does succeed, but instead they're a regular, ordinary person. Because in my real life, I've found generally that the people who find success aren't necessarily super talented, they're just hardworking, genuine people. So I wanted to kind of do that in a kid's book and create the kid's book that I didn't read.
Wow. Okay. So you did, maybe without even realizing it, you wrote what a lot of people suggest, which is to write the book you want to read.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't even think about it like that, but I guess I did.
But that's great because it was something special to you. You were passionate about the subject, and it was something that you were able to stick to it and tell that story, because you were living it. You knew the protagonist inside and out, and what it was going to take to finish it. So that's awesome. That's great. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell us about this world that she lives in.
So basically, she lives in Celia, which is this fantasy type world, and it's trapped behind a ring of mountains. And they've had no
Mm.
contact with the outside world for basically hundreds of years.
Mm-hmm.
And um, every day, or sorry, every 50 years, this man known as the Sky Charter travels through the mountains, comes and picks a son who is their hero, and the sun basically defends them from these monsters and then also may or may not destroy the mountains. The hope is always that the sun is going to destroy these mountains and save them and kind of reconnect them with the outside world, because
Mm-hmm.
the place they live in is run down with starvation and monsters and just generally not a nice place to live in.
Sounds like it. So, how uh, how did you go about with the world building? Was it based on anything that you read, or is it something that was just pure imagination? How did you build that world?
So it's kind of interesting because when I originally wrote the story, I ended up rewriting it and adding in all this world building. The original story was supposed to be very much a regular medieval type fantasy book,
Mm-hmm.
basically European medieval type fantasy. And I realized that those types of books there was a lot of them. And so there was kind of an oversaturation in them. And I realized, oh, I want to be a little bit more creative with my world building. So I kind of took the whole um, my story being about the chosen one and said, okay, how can I create a world that makes sense with this idea of there being a hero? Why would there need to be a hero? And worked backwards from there, and then created basically a world purely from my imagination.
Wow, that's fantastic. One of the things that really blows me away with the story that you wrote at your age is like just going over some of the reviews and people discussing the book, and how they talk about how it's keeping them on their toes, it's immersive, it's touching on things about um, discovering yourself, which as somebody of your age, of being a younger like you are, that just blows me away that you were able to do something that people are recognizing as, hey, this is like, next level stuff. A lot of even adult authors like myself, or even established authors, still don't delve that deeply into it. Do you think some of that was instinctual, just the kind of coming out as you wrote, or did you have intention behind, no, I want there to be a lesson here?
Um, I generally do like, I don't know if I like the word lesson and stuff like that. I like to look at it as meaning and a purpose because I feel
Mm,
like when you have kids' books and it's like shoving down a kid's throat a lesson,
mm-hmm.
it can be very, at least I wouldn't have liked to read that type of book when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So I do definitely try to put meaning in my stories from my own personal experiences. So like you're right, there is sort of a lesson, I guess, but I try to do it in a way that's fun and compelling and not super shoved down your throat, and also a little more subtle in the sense of um, that someone doesn't necessarily need to take away the same thing. It can be a different story to different people. So there doesn't need to
Mm,
be one clear lesson and moral, I guess.
mm-hmm.
People can learn and take different things from the book. It's more like an experience type thing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I you're blowing me away with some of this. So tell us about your main character. What is her name?
Her name is Lita Rubis. And she basically, in many ways, she is like me in the sense that she's very, I think, motivated, but she's kind of the opposite as well. She's a very adventurous, spunky 12-year-old girl. She comes basically from a family of seven, and she's the middle child. So she doesn't
Oh,
really get a lot of attention, and that kind of fuels her desire to be the sun and basically be her country's hero
hmm.
and strive sort of for fame, which maybe isn't the best goal. She kind of learns that over the course of the book. But yeah, so I would say she's just a very adventurous, athletic girl, and very hardworking and confident. So yeah.
That's great. All right. Did you find as you were writing her, did she occasionally like kind of pop into your head and tell you like, no, no, that's not where the story's going. This is where I want to go. This is what I want to do next.
So when I first wrote the story, I actually had everything plotted out, but I ended up rewriting and scrapping that version of the story. And when I
Hmm.
scrapped that, I completely pantsed it, which means I wrote it out of my head. Basically, I guess let the characters lead where they wanted to go.
Hmm.
So, yes, in the final draft, she definitely chose some of the outcomes.
Was what was something surprising about that process? Did she surprise you at times?
I guess about the process, the book was, I found, to be much better when I pantsed it than when I plotted it. It was more authentic to the character and just a better, more story.
Hmm.
It ended up being a lot more action packed than previous drafts had been.
Yeah.
So I guess that aspect really surprised me. Again, tying into the whole aspect that she's very adventurous and kind of impulsive and seeks the danger. When she was leading it, there was a lot more danger.
She's like, no, we're going over here. There's a squirrel over there. I'm going that direction now too.
Yeah.
I love that feeling. My standalone books, I'm very much that way. I like to pants it and see where it takes me. And I've learned with my series that I'm writing, I can't quite do that. At least on the sequels, I've got to have an outline and stick to that because otherwise I mess up on like, oh wait, no, they've done this before, or they're going this direction now. I can't change it midway. But that's a lot of fun to have the characters telling you. And my wife finds it she finds it hilarious because sometimes I'm writing in my chair while she's on the couch and we're not really watching TV because I'm doing one thing and she's on her phone or something and all of a sudden I'm chuckling or I'm going oh my gosh. And it's like and she's like what? I'm like, oh, never mind, you mean your character just told you something? It's like, yeah, oh my gosh, we're going on another adventure, we're going somewhere else that I didn't expect. So
Yeah. It's so bad. You would, I guess it's weird because it's sort of, I'm basically laughing at myself, but
mhm.
I find a lot of the dialogue between, especially if I have two characters that work really well together, I'll have a lot of short, kind of witty dialogue type stuff, and that always cracks me up, even though my
Yes.
I'm writing it for myself, so technically I should know it, but still interesting to me.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great and very fascinating process, and I would love to like study a little bit into what that goes into. Like, do I have multiple personalities? Is that what's happening here? But
Yeah, definitely. I'm very big on writing characters that are not like me and very distinctly different from me. For example, Lita hates reading and is illiterate, and I love reading and writing and could not imagine doing anything but it. And she's
Mhm.
also very athletic, and I'm not very athletically gifted. So it does really feel like the characters are distinct people from me, even though they have things in common with me and learn similar things that I do.
Mhm.
Definitely an interesting part of the process I found.
Absolutely. So, is this going to be part of a series, or what's next?
So I wrote the book originally where it could be a series or a standalone because I wasn't sure. Now I think I'm probably going to leave it as a standalone because I have other projects that I'm working on that I'm very excited about,
Hmm.
especially as I'm growing as a writer and changing. And especially with this book, I really started it when I was 14 and now I'm 18. So there's a big maturity gap in like how you change from a 14-year-old to an 18-year-old. So now I sort of want to work on new stories and not stuff that I had been working on in middle school and high school.
Well, that's good though. That's just growth as an author to look back and to see like where things need to change. And like you said, you even scrapped it and changed, just decided to completely revisit and see where it went with a fresh mind.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of growth. Oh my gosh, it takes a lot of us. Even like I said, even established authors sometimes a lot of years to discover that. So you're doing going ahead of the game and doing very well with for yourself.
Thank you.
So are you working on something now?
Yes, I am. I'm gonna keep it really top secret because
Ah.
my books change a lot, as I've said. So what I'm writing right now is probably gonna be completely different by the final draft. So I can't say too much, but I'm very excited for it, is all I will say.
All right. Well, you've got to let us know when your next book is available so that we can help promote that as well and share it with the world.
Yeah.
Well, like I said, you're doing amazing. You were talking about yourself very modestly as that you're just another average girl, but you need to know too that it's like 2% or less than 2% of people who start a book actually finish it. So that puts you in elite company. Be proud of yourself. Congratulate yourself because you've earned it, and that's fantastic. So I'm proud of you. I'm so happy that you joined me today, and that we get to celebrate your book. And I can't wait to see what's next from you.
Thank you. I'm happy I got a chance to go on.
Well, where can people find and follow you to learn more?
You can follow my Instagram and also I'm on Facebook as well. Everything is just AY Johlin if you searched up. Instagram's at AY Johlin at AY underscore Johlin. My website, ayjohlinwixsite.com. So, and also on Goodreads. But yeah, it's just all my pen name. So if you search it up, I will be there.
And actually, I was just talking about this with an author in a recent episode. You did a very good step, which is you claimed your author page on Amazon as well, and now Goodreads too. I got to find you up on Goodreads. So, but you'd be surprised how many authors have not claimed their Amazon page, so that readers can find out more about you and find out where to go. So that's good. And listeners, I'm going to have links to all of that in the show notes. So just like my last name, you're going to see how Jolyn is spelled. And you just click that link in the bottom so you can find her website, her Amazon. All of that will be right there. So that easy peasy, just click the link and go on over there and follow her. All right. Well, AY, thank you so much for coming on. This has been a real delight for me, and I can't wait to hear this sample. Do we have anything to set up for this reading, or anything we should know ahead of time?
Not really. I'm gonna be reading just the first chapter. So Good
Perfect.
introduction to the story.
Perfect. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, time for me to step aside with my writer's block coffee and hand the floor over to my guest, A.Y. Johlin, with The Girl Who Wasn't Chosen.
Chapter 1. An old man ruins my life. Jumping out of windows is harder than it looks. Sneaking away from my dad, even harder. This time he grabs me in midair with his meaty hands. They sink into my shoulders like falcon claws, plopping me onto the floor. Its mossy floorboards scratch at my knees. I glance at the sunny window behind me, packed with bright banners and whispering crowds. I was so close to joining them, so close to meeting him, but instead I get another lecture. Great. Lita, what did I say about jumping out of windows? He demands. He's a tall man with a slick, bald head, furry brown beard, and big belly. The combination makes him resemble a fuzzy bear, which usually causes me to hug him. But not today. Today I don't have time. I've put my shoes on so I look nice for the ceremony, I squeak. Curse my high-pitched 10-year-old voice. It always makes me sound like I'm nervous. For the record, I am never nervous. That's probably why my parents want to install boards on our windows. Daddy, Daddy! Two kids burst into the bedroom, Mac and Nella, my annoying little siblings. They each have a fistful of shaggy hazel hair and grubby fingers which latch onto my dad's legs, yanking him away from me. He sighs, pinching my nose. Just go prepare with everybody else. I don't want my coolest daughter looking bad for today's ceremony. He turns his back to me, addressing my siblings instead. I hang my head as he laughs with them. Fine, I guess I'll do what he says, since sneaking past him is impossible. Then I drag myself into my family's glass shop, which is attached to our house's front. The stench of moss swams into me first, then the clink of tiny glass statues, the stuffy cobblestone walls, and the chilly windows which normally mark the entrance to my family's shop. Today, people cluster inside it. I mean, it's always stuffed with people since there's 9 of us, counting mom and dad. But now we've invited the neighbors too. The noise alone nearly drives me to jump out the window again. Kids argue over which fingerless leather gloves to wear, while women braid sea flowers into their hair, and men smash berries in wooden buckets. The commotion is in preparation for today's choosing ceremony. But why work this hard if we arrive so late that the Sky Charter misses us? How can he pick the best son if he can't see all the candidates? I sigh. The least I can do is put my sandals on so I look good for the Sky Charter. Then maybe try another escape plan. I trudge over to the kids wrestling over gloves. The sandals should be on the other side, wedged right underneath the fighting kids. I want the dark ones, one girl screeches. But they're mine. My grandma bought them for me, a boy argues. Excuse me, I say. Well, she said I could have them. She said I could have them too, a different girl says. Hey, let me through, I yell. Finally, a few eyes turn towards me and some kids shift, creating an opening in their thick crowd. The hum of sweaty bodies presses against my shoulders. I reach in between them onto the black shelf where one pair of leather sandals rests, only for a short boy with chubby cheeks to snatch them before I can. Gabriel, my second little brother. He giggles at me, then races off to play with a few friends. Ugh. I roll my eyes, searching for another pair under the shelves. That's when the whispers start. Who is that girl again? The one who yelled? A tall girl asks. My face burns as my body stiffens. I thought Mira would have remembered my name. We talked yesterday. The boy beside Mira shrugs. Dunno. I'm guessing one of the Rubus kids. I kind of remember Alex saying he had 2 little sisters. Bare wood scratches against my palms. There are no sandals left. Really? Another sister? She tilts her head. There's so many Rubus kids. I only remember the interesting ones. Interesting ones? My lip quivers as I leave the crowd. It doesn't matter. A bunch of older kids won't make me sad for today's ceremony. My shoulders droop anyways as I trudge over to a jar decorated with painted blue flowers. There's nothing inside the foggy glass piece. Oh, great. If I'm the only girl without sea flowers braided in my hair, I'll be the laughingstock of Wayland. There's no way the Sky Charter will pick me then. I twist my body around the corner to face a lady surrounded by a flock of other women. She braids the hair of the younger girl, her laughter bouncing off the various glass statues, pots, and cups. Mom, I call, do you have any extra? And then I told him he needed to. She continues. I stomp my foot. The woman finally glanced at me, but their hazy eyes latched onto the screaming kids and rowdy men behind me instead. Do you have any sea flowers left? Oh, I thought I already braided flowers into your hair, Nella. Mom stares at Irene, my older sister, continuing to weave glowing flower petals into her inky hair. I'm not Nella, Mom, I grumble. I don't even look like my youngest sister. She's 6. Oh, I'm sorry, sweetie. We don't have any left. She returns to chatting with her friends. I sigh, tiptoeing towards the door. Then I open it, glancing back at Dad. He's busy chatting too. Well, at least I can leave early now. The smell of seawater and a ring of eerie black mountains greet me as I leave. My house borders our village's edges, near the Aurorian Mountains, the mountain range that grew out of the sea and trapped our country from the world. I wiggle my toes in the pine green grass, then smile, because today is going to change my life. Today I'm going to be, how long are you going to wiggle your toes? A boy my age glances up from his book. I don't talk to him often, but I'd recognize those black curls anywhere. Jorge Macos, the farmer boy who taught himself to read. As long as it takes to cheer me up. I cross my arms, wiggling my toes even harder. He narrows his eyes. Hey, at least I don't spend my time reading. Jorge flips a page. I'm reading because I actually have a dream. Someday I'm going to be accepted into Even's Academy for Special Children. You probably don't even understand what it's like to dream. I do too. He raises an eyebrow. My dream is even better than going to our capital's best boarding school. I mean, who wants to go to school? I'm going to be the next son. Just the thought of being Celia's next hero sends tingles down my spine. Crowds cheering for me as I fight monsters, people screaming in joy when I finally destroy the Aurorian Mountains. I can't wait. I've been training for years now, practicing sword fighting with a broom and doing push-ups every morning. It's pretty serious. Jorge snorts. You want this sky charter to choose you? That's even crazier than getting accepted into an Even Academy. The crazier the dream, the better it is. I brush off my dress. Anyways, I've got to get to the ceremony early in order to get in front of the crowd. See you later. I skip off to the center of our village. Grassy fields morph into dirt roads peppered with wildflowers. Hey, wait! Jorge jogs behind me, dodging a lanky woman. His mouth twists into a sneer. Oh great, he's gonna mock me again. Surprisingly, it then twitches into a smile. I want to see the look on everyone's faces when the Sky Charter picks a girl from Wayland as our next son. I grin. Maybe he's not so bad after all. I'll just have to convince him that school is not worth it. Mom still tells me horror stories about the time she accidentally got stuck in one when trading glass pieces in Even. Well, when she has time to talk to me. 6 other kids and a shop to run doesn't leave lots of time. Plus, you're forgetting this. He reaches into his pocket and pulls out a glowing blue flower. Its petals curl like fish fins and it reeks of seawater, like basically everyone in my village does. At the flower's base is a twisted moon-white stem. A sea flower, I stammer, then clear my throat. Thank you. Where'd you get it? I pulled it off a cliff for my mom. She doesn't need it though. She has a bunch of them already. He tosses it to me and I tuck it behind my ear. I had to fight a few ocean eaters to get it. I touch my ear. You had to fight monsters and climb a cliff to get this? That's so cool. I cheer, then rush further into Wayland Center. There, masses of people with brown hair and eyes like my own await the ceremony. Dark purple banners swing, their silky surfaces brushing my shoulders. Walls belonging to rocky houses trap the crowd in the village's narrow streets, causing the nervous whispering and trampling of feet to echo across the streets. The strong aroma of trampled wildflowers wafts through the crowd, while the blur of leather and sweaty backs swarms my vision. Jorge and I still manage to emerge at the crowd's front, where a few children fidget with their thick clothing and kick up dirt. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome the magnificent Sky Charter. Wayland's lord booms overhead. He rests on a wooden makeshift stage, which is riddled with holes and smells like an odd mixture of rats and body odor. Not exactly the best first impression you can give a visitor, or the eager crowd watching the ceremony. I try not to let the stitched together curtains, creaky old boards, and foul stench bother me. What I focus on is the wiry man standing at the stage's podium, the Sky Charter, the only living man I've met who knows what's beyond the Aurorian Mountains. If that isn't awesome, I don't know what is. He wears a purple and blue robe, embroidered in silver with maps of the sky. The thin cloth looks as smooth as a baby's cheek. Then there's his warm brown eyes and long, stormy gray beard. It has to be the biggest beard that's ever existed. That settles it. He's officially the coolest guy ever. I'm pleased to finally be here. He pauses, checking the slip of paper in front of him. Of course, he forgot the name of my village. Wayland is never on any Salian map. Wayland, such an adorable little village. The Sky Charter clears his throat, surveying the crowd with sharp eyes. Villagers flood the small roads. Some even sit on grassy patches in the shade. Others lean out the windows of their houses, peering at the man through slitted eyes. For hundreds of years, one man from my world, the glorious world outside Salia, has made the treacherous journey of crossing the Aurorian Mountains, which trap you all. Our hope is that our superior knowledge can save you from these terrors, the Sky Charter declares. His voice sounds like the chiming of bells mixed with the crackling of a cozy fire. The crowd and I lean forward as his warm words swarm our ears. Today, I will use that knowledge to pick your new son. I beam, bouncing on the soles of my feet. The afternoon sun and my smile warm my cheeks. This child will grow up to become Salia's savior, protecting you from murderous monsters and conniving criminals. At least until the next Sky Charter returns to choose a new son in 50 years. This very child will try, like the 24 sons before them, and may even succeed in destroying the Aurorian Mountains and freeing Salia, reestablishing its former glory. Giddy whispers arise from the crowd. Jorge cracks a smile. Just the thought of leaving the clenches of the Aurorian Mountains melts any Salian's heart. The Sky Charter clears his throat again. Dozens of eyes latch back onto him. Now, to determine if this person is among us today, if Salia's next hero will come from Wayland, I will use the same method my people have used for an eternity, consulting the sky. The crowd murmurs, nudging each other. We're all wondering the same question. What does he mean? What sort of magic will he use to choose our son? Gasps erupt as the Sky Charter twists his body upwards, cranking his neck so that his head directly faces the sky. His body goes slack while his fingers twitch in the humid hair. Then, in a fit of sudden madness, he bellows, "Oh, dear sky, tell me if our new son is here." I follow his gaze upwards to the stone-like clouds. A raindrop slaps my forehead, spreading its icy touch across my face. Seconds later, thunder crackles. Gasps erupt. "Our son is here," the Sky Charter's voice lowers. Puffy, amazed breaths trail his words. He scans the crowd, and suddenly his gaze meets mine. I jump up. This is it, the moment I've been waiting for. But there's something hazy about his dark brown eyes. I've seen those glossy eyes before, that look before. It's the look people give you when they're too busy changing diapers or sweeping the shop to talk to you. The look people have when you're trying to pick out leather sandals and they can't remember your name. My mouth dries. He looks away. My legs nearly crumple and my vision blurs as he meets the nervous eyes of another little girl. He whisks through the crowd straight towards her. "Young girl, what is your name?" "Corey," she squeaks, twirling her stringy black hair. A small jet of blue emerges from the back, a slightly deeper shade than the flowers nestled in her hair. My eyes widen. I've known Corey for years, but I've never seen that strand before. She must have hidden it. Freckles dot her round face, resting underneath her onyx-colored eyes. While in her right hand is a book, despite every other kid in Wayland, except Jorge, being illiterate. She's extraordinary, someone fit to be a son. My gut churns. The humid air threatens to suffocate my lungs. The Sky Charter grips her shoulder. "You, my girl, are destined to do great things for this country." She nods, pale from shock. He clutches her little hand and leads her through the crowd. People part ways, excited whispering replacing nervous chatter, while Jorge yanks me backwards so I don't bump into the duo. My hand grazes the Sky Charter's long robe. It feels like gold, smooth and soft. I stare at my dirty hands, which are covered with fingerless leather gloves. They don't look fit to touch gold. The Sky Charter returns to the stage, where he retrieves a wooden bowl crammed with yellow liquid. He dips a flaky brush in the liquid and, with a sweeping gesture, paints a yellow circle on Corey's face. Even from afar, it's easy to tell that the gold marking mirrors the sun. Cheers erupt. The sound jams into my skull like elk antlers. People of Wayland, the Sky Charter shouts, citizens of Celia, this girl is your 25th son, your next savior. The screaming intensifies as people jump and clap. They scramble around, retrieving buckets filled with the same blue liquid. With shouts of glee, they pour the liquid on their faces. Their markings form smudged handprints, all identical to each other. Mira and her friend do the same. Bits of berry juice from their wooden buckets spill onto my ankles. It smells like sour milk. Did you see Corey's blue strand of hair? The girl gushes. It was gorgeous. I've never seen anything like it. Her friend bobs his head. And the book she was reading too? I can't believe nobody realized she was going to be our son earlier. Between that book and her hair, she's in Wayland, maybe even Celia. Salt stings my mouth. It takes me a minute to realize it comes from my own tears. This was supposed to be my day. They were supposed to be cheering for me, calling me interesting, painting a pretty sun on my face, not some Corey girl who sits in her grandma's house and reads all day, who didn't memorize every story about her son, who didn't spend hours using anything she could find, brooms and twigs mostly, to teach herself sword fighting. This isn't fair. I bolt, running past the fallen banners and worn down houses, all the way back to my family's little shop in this little village everybody forgets. Finally, I race inside a stone-rimmed shop and hide behind a wooden table that is littered with glass items. Directly in front of me is a row of pristine glass statues, which also happen to be modeled off previous suns. They glint in gold, green, and red, winking at me in between fighting a monster or lifting a boulder. You know there's something wrong when even statues' lives are more interesting than yours. Under their scrutiny, I sob, then burrow my teary face into scratched up knees, only to glance up after a rustling sound pierces the air. My dad enters the shop, spilling sunlight onto all of the statues. Now, practically glowing, their colors fill the room, painting our faces in glistening shades of red and orange. Dad locks eyes with me and strolls over. Lita, he murmurs, crouching down to my level. His sandals squeak with the movement. Leave me alone, I shout, pressing my face back into my knees. The tears sting my skin, finding their way into the dozens of tiny scratches peppering my legs. Why are you crying? Aren't you happy we have a new son? I say nothing. He should know why. He's my dad. He's supposed to pay attention to these things. Come on, did a leafer catch your tongue? Dad tickles my knees. I giggle. It's enough for me to stop hiding. I sigh. It's just not fair. What does Corey have that I don't? Lita, sometimes life can be unfair. Dad sits down, furrowing his bushy brows. Do you remember the heroes from your mother's stories? The ones who were our previous sons? Yeah, I sniffle. What were they always like? Brave, kind, and selfless? Yes, but there is more to being a son than that, Lita. Our heroes have to be different. He drums his fingers across the wooden planks. I tilt my head. Different? Exactly. Something has to be unique about them. They can't be like everybody else because no ordinary person can do what they do. That's why they have to be extraordinary. Dad exhales, then continues. And Corey is a very extraordinary girl. Do you know why part of her hair is blue when she lives with her grandmother in the woods? No, I narrow my eyes. You really need to spend more time talking to our customers, he mutters. Well, it's because Corey was born with the gift of controlling water. So I could never be chosen because I was born normal? That's the way it has been since our first son was chosen, Dad says in a weary voice. But listen to me, that doesn't mean you can't be happy. What I'm trying to say, he rests a firm hand on my shoulder, is that you haven't been given as much as Corey has, but you just need to, he grits his teeth, make do with what you have. I try repeating his words, but my throat remains dry. So instead, I stare at the moldy floorboards we sit on. Multiple knocks rap on our door. My siblings, they're probably looking for Dad's bucket. Dad pats my shoulder, half-heartedly grinning, then stands up, grabbing our bucket. Blue liquid, which was made from grinding up wild berries, swirls around in it. Come on, he takes my hand and leads me outside to where the rest of the village cheers. Finally, we return to a grassy spot, away from the pathway packed with my family and friends. Only 3 of my siblings don't have the markings painted on them. Dad sets this bucket down and dips his hand into it, smearing Nella's face. Alec and Gabriel are next. That leaves me. My hands shake. I know what this means. If I put that liquid on, I'm showing the rest of the world that I'm ordinary, that I'm just a regular village girl stuck living in a boring village, looking after cows for the rest of her life. Another blob of blue in the sky that the sun lives in. Another blob of blue the sun needs to save. Remember what I said? Dad nudges the bucket towards me. Make do with what I have. I whisper and smear the cold liquid on my face.
And there you have it. That was A.Y. Johlin reading the first chapter to her debut novel, The Girl Who Wasn't Chosen. The book is available right now. You can click the link in the show notes for that book, AY's website, and there's a link in there for her Goodreads as well. Follow her on all of those places. Don't forget to also click the link for our podcast friends, sponsor, and affiliates, and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out next week when I'm back with a brand new author, an all-new book, and an exciting new sample chapter. Take care, everyone. Talk to you again real soon.